Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dan here with GrapeVine Recording, coming at you via the PIAV channel, and we've got a pretty cool video for you today. We're going to be looking at the new Battery 4 from Native Instruments. I'm going to open it up. I'm currently running it through Pro Tools 10, and this is it. This is pretty much what it looks like. It's brand new. You can get it as a standalone, I believe, but I got it with Complete 9 Ultimate. Been completely redesigned from anyone who's used Battery 3 before. I wasn't really a big user of Battery 3. I used it a little bit in college when I was training, but I didn't really use it a lot, kind of, creating stuff because, contrary to other types of like drum sampling software out there, you've got things like BFD, Superior Drummer, Addictive Drums, Strike from Avid, and I think it's from Avid, might be from Bomb Factory. Yeah, it's another one anyway. But this is more about grooves and trying to build up grooves. As you can see here with the interface with the GUI, it's very similar to the old like MPC style of like the way they're in their own little box. You're not getting like a representation of a drum kit or anything like that. But we're gonna start just in the top left, and then I'll go through. I've made a little drum beat in the background. You got to bear in mind, don't judge me for my beat making abilities because it's not really my cup of tea, but it's just a very simple just like that. It all lights up very nice and it's pretty cool to look at. If anyone actually saw the Complete 9 like reveal trailer, it was kind of heavily showing the fact that everything lights up and it's really nice. I can imagine using this with a machine would look awesome as it's all lighting up and doing all that crap as it would. But anyway, back to it. Right, up in the top left, have all your different kits. You can go through different categories, whether you want drums, different acoustic kits, different analog kits, digital kits, urban, vinyl. You've got different percussion kits and different sound effect kits. I am currently using the Swedish drum kit. I had a little look through them all, and this is the one that the kick sounded pretty cool. Like that. So that's pretty much it. You can also, just next to it, go onto the samples, and as that all loads in, you can move through and get just the individual samples from each kit. And it's pretty cool, because underneath you can have a nice little text search, so you can go kick, and then let it load, and then eventually it'll load up all the... Oh no, that's just kick in ambience. I do apologise. If you go down, obviously kick. If you want like an 808 kick, just search 808. There's all the 808 kicks below there. If you just turn that on, it will give you a nice little preview before you go into it. And you can get whichever one you want. As you can see, that is quite loud. So we'll get rid of that. But that's pretty much it. You get a load of samples with it. I'm not really I haven't really used any kind of like MPC stuff before, or 808 909s, anything like that. So it's really like trial and error for me. I have to go through and listen to each one to get the sound that I want. But I can imagine, for guys who are really into this kind of like beat making type of thing, they'll already have an idea. And at first glance and looking through the Native Instruments website, a lot of like the really classic vintage stuff is all being sampled into here. So it's pretty good. You can also add your own. You can add your own samples in if you've got them. Unfortunately, I don't have any at the moment, but you can do all that. Different automation, host automation and MIDI automation lanes you can add in. And as I said here, you can just get it to repeat. You get it sample it. You can get to have a little preview before you select which one you want. The level of it, different info, but nothing is on there. And then you can edit some stuff. But I didn't really want to go into that too much. That's for a little bit more advanced than I am. So I'm not going to explain it because I probably will get it wrong. Coming over here to the GUI, obviously you can see all the different samples that have been loaded in onto different things. These all represent different notes on the keyboard. So you can, build your way up. And kind of works on an octave band. So, C1 on the keyboard will be A, then you can change it to B if you move up an octave again, and you pretty much select down the your different, basically your different octaves, select your different banks. Obviously there's 12 semitones in an octave, and that's pretty much how it works. You can click and drag. I thought this was pretty cool because As much as I like this kick, after I was messing around, I found that one. I was like, yup, I want that. So all you do, nice and simple, click, drag, let go. Now it's there. Lovely. There's this little option over in the right. Before I even get to that, obviously you can sync it to your host BPM, which is 140 for me at the minute, or you can turn that off and select whatever one you want if you want to get a little bit more specific, or you want to do some halftime things. You know, it might be a little bit easier to set your own BPM than, you know, trying to change it in your DAW. Shows you how many voices. I think it's 32 voice polyphony, which is pretty cool. You've got your master volume over here on the right, and it's pretty cool this, because I'm currently running it as stereo, and one thing that you can do is you can run it in like multiple outputs, and effectively what you can do is you can change where these buses go. So you can, if you've got it as multiple outputs, you can set this as like your kick bus, which I think you rename by right clicking on it, and say you go kick, that, and you want, oh, not like that, I want you, and you. You just click, drag it onto that bus, and now all my kicks are all, like, you know, assigned to that bus, and then you can output that bus to a different track. So effectively in Pro Tools or whatever DAW you're using, you can have everything as different outputs, and then you can mix separately there, which I think is an absolutely awesome feature. But underneath you see your waveform, you know, if you want to kind of get in and edit it a lot more, so you can keep it the way it is now, which is like this. And you can see it plays along, or you can kind of, if you want to be more specific, and you can, you know, you can kind of edit it as much as you want, really. You've got your tuning over here. Again, if you want to get a little bit more into it, you can get this reverse function, which is cool. Which I think is a nice little option, obviously, for more electronic stuff. You got your pan, your phase reverse. What is that? What? I think that means it splits it into both left and right channels instead of to a mono channel, which is pretty cool. You've got your level, that's completely independent from anything else. So as you can see here, if I change the level, it's only changing the level of that first kick. It doesn't affect anything else, which is quite lovely. You've got all your volume envelopes, which you can turn on or off, which is pretty cool. You can do that for anything. Again, this is just more, you know, really in-depth editing if you want to do it. You've got your engine, which I believe is if you want to copy it off a kind of like the style of how it would work, say like on an MPC. If you set it to vintage, you get to choose the MP60 or the S1200. Again, I don't know what it is, but I know how it works. It's just the way it samples it, which I love. I think that's a really good idea if you want a more vintage sound. You've got your filters over here if you want to have a high cut or a low cut. You've got a nice compressor built in, so if you want to add some compression, you can. Nice and simply there. You've got your sends to a master, delay and reverb, which we'll get to in a moment. And you've got, again, there's just lanes and lanes of effects on this, different saturation types. So if you want some tape saturation, then there's like quite a few presets into this as well, which is awesome if you want some soft clipping. You've got a lo-fi sound as well, if you want to get that 8-bit style. Then this is pretty cool. I like this. With the filter and EQ section, like obviously you've got your basic low pass, high pass filters, your band pass, your peak notch, your effect, but you've got it already. You get the solid GEQ built in. For those who don't know what that is, Native Instruments also have an EQ called Solid EQ, which is this, which is effectively a model of the old SSL. I think it's a G. Well, it would be the SSL G channel desk, and there you go. It's got that already built in, so you don't have to waste any extra DSP adding that in at the end. So I like that. Again, there's like a pretty much just a more in-depth compressor here if you want to get the exact amount of compression that you want. And this wonderful one, I believe TM stands for Transient Master, I think, because I know that they've also got a plugin called Transient Master down here, which is this. So this is effectively another built-in processor already on there. As you can see here, these the solid bus compressor, which is again another compressor, like another standalone plugin that you get with Complete. That's already built in, and then you get a nice Transient Master. Show what the Transient Master does. So I'll use it on the snare. So if you just listen for the snare right now. It's effectively just raising the volume of the attack portion of the snare, or you can you can boost the sustain as well, like this. If I solo it. So yeah, effectively, if you just think of like a sound as like the attack or the transient portion, which is the very, very beginning of the sound, and the sustain is kind of like the decay or the very end of the sound, you can adjust them both separately. So say if you want more snap to your snare, you just raise the attack portion of that. Say if you're using a compressor and trying to mess around with that. There's different modulators which are in here, which are awesome as well. So if you want a... where are we? So if we're going to use this shaker, we can add if we want, say like an auto panner on it. So if you set that to the LFO, set the LFO here as a sine, and we want that to do a pan, like so, we can do this. Obviously, that'll be a lot more apparent if you are wearing headphones. But it's pretty cool. Again, a lot of this stuff is for more if you want it. Like, I was basically just using it for, straight up beats. Weren't really going into the editing portion at that much at this stage because I'm still effectively a beginner when I'm trying to working out in beat making. But, again, I can see that for more advanced users, all of these features are going to be a must. Again, there's different modulation envelopes. You can set your modulator to your pitch wheel. There's a way you can do it, but you can set it to your modulation wheel on your keyboard if you have a MIDI keyboard. So you can set it that way, and then you can write your automation in that way, just in case you want to get a more specific one. Your setups are just your MIDI velocities, all your different groups, the types of articulations. These are pretty cool. So if we just solo our snare again, instead of just a straight up hit on the snare, you turn your articulation on, and you get this, which is pretty good. You can go drum roll, different buzzers, muted, speed roll. Nice Geiger counter if you want some Fallout stuff. That's it. If the sample's got a left and a right note, it kind of changes in between. Just adds a nice little human element, and obviously humanize as well kind of does it itself. So that just changes the different the timing and the velocity changes. So it's pretty good. Let me just fix Let me just fix this. Yep. So there's different humanizers which can just very, very slightly change the timing. Just if you want that more human feel, obviously with the name Humanize, and different velocity settings, just so it's not like, as exactly the same each time. Adds a little bit of variety. Then you've got the editor, which obviously we've shown this before. There's like a little version of that on the first page. But say, for example, you'd have this snare, and you like that, and you like this snare as well. What you do is you find the snare that we found before. Sorry, we have to find this. So we go into samples, we go down to snare. Oh, where are we? Snare, snare, snare. We go into here. It was under analog. Fall down and find snare Swedish. And it is number 7. And then you just drag that into there. So now this is based on a velocity level. So you've got from 1 to 127. And what you can do, so now when I play that, that's now playing both that snare and the other one. There's effectively like multiple different ways you can do to get this working. So if you want it, for example, if you play at a higher velocity setting, it plays one. Let me find out, where are we? So if we play it low, you get that. But if you play it louder, you get that different one. You can do it that way, or if you want to just know, you can definitely just layer it all up if that is indeed what you want. So, that's how a lot of people get that unique sound, if they just stack a load of kick drums up or a load of snare drums, because if they want a certain part of one, a certain part of the other, that's exactly how you do it. So that's in the editor, and in the master, you get all your different reverb times, your different delay times, a master EQ, a master compressor, a master transient master, master saturation, and a master limiter. So this is just everything that you saw on them on the individual channels up here now gets replicated to do it on the entire kit, which again just gives you that little bit more control over everything that you want. And that's effectively it. That's as much as I found out of it. That's as in depth as I think I should go into it before I start getting really confused with myself and then start giving false information, which is not what we want. But that's it. I definitely recommend. I'm sure there'll be a demo up on the Native Instruments website for those who have bought Complete but kind of didn't know how it works. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of an overview. I read a review about this a while ago, and he was saying, this is the one thing that's kind of got them in to, writing music with certain grooves and beats that they'd never do before. And to be honest, that's exactly how it's worked for me. I'm not really one who's done this type of thing before, and now for how easy it is to get a good sound and for how easy the editing ability is to create something like completely unique, it's changed everything for me, and it's allowed me to get into it a lot easier than it would have maybe using a different program. So I would definitely recommend it. And hopefully you've enjoyed this. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe if you did. And hopefully I will see you all in the next video. Take it easy.